Hello guys, and welcome back to part 4 of the Harley Davidson V-Rod airbrushing project. As you all know, we've been working on this piece, on all parts for this bike for the last 3 episodes, and as promised, today we're gonna blend it all in with a blue fire, the real kind of true fire, but in blue. So without too much bullshit, there it is. What I'm using here as a paint, it's Inspire paint. I believe they made in UK, and they solvent base. This ones I'm using for anyway. And what I'm airbrushing here now as a very basic layer is mixture of white base, blue base, and I've got a few drops of royal blue candy, just so I can blend it in later on, because I need to cover the whole thing with candy anyway. Doing it with just white means I need to use far more candy than I want to, but pre-mixing it like this, with some light blue and white base makes my life way easier later on in stages when I need to cover the whole thing with candy actually, because airbrushing with just a color on a black surface is never a good idea, because you need a lot of passes to make the color visible. If I mix it up with white, I'm ending up basically with what you see right now. So it's about, I would say, 60% white. I do about 30% of blue, and I drop some candy, another 10% of candy, and obviously red juice on top of that, so it's nice and liquid. So I can actually, in a first pass, achieve that kind of effect as you can see right now. So the blue is kind of visible against the black background. And I'm working with freehand, very much freehand. I use my stencils to get the sharp edges. These stencils I cut myself from like a flexible piece of plastic. I believe that was some kind of poster, kind of stand thing. I just ripped it to pieces. I cut these random shapes. As you can see, guys, there's nothing specific about it. No sharp corners or anything like this. Fire doesn't work this way. I just work, as you can see, 90% over here by hand. I use those stencils to kind of get these nice edges, nice corners, sharp edges against it, like the fire kind of turns naturally. And this way I can achieve this kind of fluid motion in the artwork. It doesn't look like it's been airbrushed from a stencil. It's very much freehand art form. I'm helping myself with those stencils, but I'm not making it symmetrical, as you can see. Beer time. That's what you see in the beginning. It's a nice kind of smoky effect, so I thought that fits here. Probably have like 2 or 3 beers when I'm working over hours. Anyway, what you can see right now, that's been ready. I put candy on it, so you can see the color it's much deeper. The blue, I use candy royal blue, also by Inspire paints. So I covered the whole artwork. I didn't show it on camera, but the whole artwork was covered in that candy royal blue. All the pieces, so you can see it's very deep and rich blue, and that was the very first roadmap I've done, so there's not much details going on over there. But again, I'm coming back on top of that with very similar mixture, but I'm making it even lighter blue than before. So that blue is, I would say, I put 70% white and 20% blue and another 10% of candy blue. Is not royal blue this time, just candy blue, which is lighter, just to make it a bit lighter so it stands on top of that. It gives you that 3-dimensional kind of texture to the fire. So all these very dark blue pieces are gonna sit underneath the artwork, and this lighter blue is gonna sit on top. I'm gonna complete this process once again. I'm gonna have like three layers over here, but before that I'm gonna cover this piece, this blue piece, in candy blue, which is lighter than royal blue, also by Inspire paints. If I work on that kind of fire, I use all my paints from one manufacturer, one kind of range of paints. This way I'm making sure there's no reaction and the chemical ingredients are exactly the same. Very much same here on the side, on the tailpiece. Going inside that roadmap I created before, again, very much freehand, working around already existing, patterns, creating new ones as I go along. This process is slightly more detailed than the previous one. I'm creating more detailed patterns over here than the previous one, but you know, that makes it a little bit lighter as well, and a little bit easier. Yes, those little sparks flying over there, just like I have in my True Fire. It's kind of my signature maybe. I'm sure other people using that as well, but I like using this. In my opinion, it creates this extra motion to the flames. These little sparks, you know, flying, you know. It looks like it's actually in motion, like it's something going on there. Not just 3D that you can put your hand underneath there, but those little sparks, it seems like it's flying, you know, back. So that gives it extra motion. And I'm doing the same thing over here. Camera went out of focus slightly, but you can see the fumes coming from that, especially when I'll be covering that with candy. And yes guys, I am using a mask. It's not a full respirator, but it's like a carbon mask. It's brand new, so I am being safe, because these are solvent based paint, you know. The painting skulls, I use water based paint, and they're very safe and they don't stink. But this thing, you know, being airborne, is actually quite deadly, so I'm definitely using a mask. Coming back to the petrol tank, I'm doing the same thing over again, just being a bit more detailed about it and very light, you know, when I go around the corners. There's not much more to say here really. I mean, you see what I'm doing, it's exactly the same process, you know, on one side and the other side. Just going inside that roadmap I created before, and I'm just working my way through, you know, just very delicately, very gently creating another layer on top of already existing one. So there's not much more to say here really. Have a look. I'm gonna open a beer right now. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, and yeah, and I start talking something when something more interesting is gonna happen. Oh yeah, beer is good. Right, the same thing on the other side, you know, it's just the same mixture. Lighter blue, well, white, blue, and a little bit of candy, and they're just lighter color than before. By the way, once I covered the first candy, the royal blue, the first very blue, the deep blue, I kind of sealed it with clear, very lightly. I sealed it with clear coat. The reason for that is the candy likes to bleed. When you leave another color on top of it, it kind of bleeds through, because it's kind of the chemical process still carries on over there. So if I just cover it up without sealing that previous candy, it will probably just creep through and everything will just blend into one color, which we don't want. I want a separation, very gentle, but separation of these candies, of these colors, so I can have darker underneath and the lighter color on top. Over here I'm just coming to this guy and revisiting the eyes, adding some kind of smoky, fiery effect to his eyes, as well as his teeth, you know, his mouth. So it looks like he's kind of swallowing this fire, maybe breathing this fire, you know, out one way or the other. I think it's a pretty cool effect having it this way. Kind of symmetrical, but then not, because fire is never really, you can watch fire burn for hours and you never see the same picture twice, you know. That's the beauty of it. It's a very free and forgiving art form in a way. Cheers everybody. I'm drinking Guinness, by the way, because it's March the 17th, so it's St. Patrick's Day, and I like Guinness. Any excuse is good. Okay, back to the artwork. Right now I'm covering everything with the candy blue. Before I was using royal blue, now it's just candy blue. It's much lighter color, and as you can see, it blends beautifully and very gently this lighter color to it. So when it was like light passes, it's kind of becoming transparent with the other one, but you can see how it's reacting. It's turning that light blue to slightly deeper blue, and it's kind of the transition between the colors right now is not so profound. It's very, once I get out of the way, come on Mackie, move, there you go. The transition between the colors becomes much more gentle. That's the whole point with working on this fire. You can probably see the same thing on the mudguard. I'm covering the whole thing with candy blue, Move, Maki, come on. Sorry guys, sometimes I forget where the camera is. And you can see how it transitions, especially in this sped up motion. There's a little time lapse going on over there. I love watching that kind of videos because it really shows, give me another idea of what's happening, you know, behind the scenes. So you can see I'm just going over the layers, very light passes. Same over here, very light passes. Don't overload it with that paint. I'll probably do one side, you know, once, then I go to the other side, wait for this side to dry, and I'm coming back to this side. So I'm keeping my distance kind of equal, working back to front until everything pretty much dries instantly. But I'm preferring working on light passes, you know, multiple passes. And what we're doing right now is we're working on a third and most probably final layer. I'm probably going to add some highlights after this. But yet again, you know, I'm mixed up a little bit lighter blue than before. So I probably went like 80% white and 10% blue and 10% candy. So it's nearly white. It's not quite white. Maki, move, for the love of God, mate, come on. It's nearly white, but not exactly. So I can go on top of this already lighter layers, and just you can see how much deeper that basically is. You can see how it's coming together as a layer. And this is the lightest pass I'm going over here, the most detailed one, but probably the most time consuming, because you need to take your time to make it, to make that effort to make really light passes, really find the fine edges. When the fire burns the hottest, basically, I'm trying to pick those spots when it's combining together is the hottest part of it, like a supernova kind of effect. On the very beginning of that front mudguard as well, you know, it's going to be the hottest point. That's what I try to concentrate, that final layer. It's blue, so it's kind of cold flame, but still you need to think about it as fire, because it's not smoke, it's painting blue fire, which I think is a really nice effect at the end of the day. And at this stage I did not seal the candy underneath, because I'm still going to come back with a blue, candy blue. So I kind of allow on purpose that candy bleed, because it's going to bleed through that color and it's going to gently blend it in. Still I'm going to come back and cover the whole thing with candy blue. I'm going to be very gentle with that, because I want that lighter color to be very visible. That is a third layer, like you can see over here, picking up those spots, you know, when I want the fire to burn the brightest. And I'm being very, very gentle around it, you know. I'm just going in few places, you know, going freehand and doing light and multiple passes. So it kind of looks, it's a fire, but it kind of looks smoky. And because of the blue color, it kind of looks like thunder as well. I'm really liking that effect. The more I'm working with it, I think one of my favorite ones is the kind of blue fire, blue flame features. Yeah, being very careful not to overload it with that lightest blue, because it's very easy to overkill everything over here and cover everything up. I don't want to do that. We've got 3 layers. You can see on my right there's like this deep blue, royal blue, and you can almost put your hand underneath it and you can see this lighter blue on top. You can kind of grab it, and then I'm going to come back very gently with the third layer. So you can visibly see 3 layers, but they're so gently, you know, blending through each other because of the candy colors combination, that it's very, you know, nice effect. It's nicely blended. So you got 3 layers, technically speaking, but if you look closely, there's probably 6 or 7, like, you know, completely different colors, and maybe even more. It depends how heavy you go on a specific layer. And I'm coming to this bad guy as well. Put some more fire in his mouth and shoot some thunders, you know, some smoky fire from his eyes, just to make it a little bit more interesting, basically, to look at. A little bit of sparks, you know, flying from his mouth and spitting flames. Really nice effect. Around his eyes I'm doing very light passes, as you can see. I don't want to cover everything up. I'm just trying to, you know, make it a bit smoky. And once we cover this whole thing with candy again, it should it should blend nicely. That's what I'm doing here exactly. That's the final layer of candy, and I'm doing just one light pass on it. It's already bleeding through, so I just try to knock down all these white edges, you know, so it's not so in your face. I'm gonna come back later on with some white highlights, but that's gonna be very, very gentle, not even worth filming. And that's pretty much ready. The mudguard is done. I'm doing light pass over here on this tailpiece. Again, these guys as well, shooting some candy to their eyes, so it looks like they've been looking at the fire and they kind of burn out their eye sockets or something like this. Just so the whole artwork, you know, blends in together. It's all one piece. Very light pass of the last candy blue to blend it all together. And over here as well, you know, you can see immediately how nicely it blends in. Knock down a bit of this lightness, and the third layer comes up to life, which is a really nice effect, I think. Light passes. I'm not shooting it everywhere. I'm shooting it only to the places where I've been airbrushing with the third lightest layer. And what I'm doing right now, I'm shooting some silver pearl. I've been experimenting with different pearls, like, you know, blue, burgundy, turquoise, you know, and purple pearls. But for blue flame, I just like the pearl silver. Silver pearl is like pearlescent color. It just brings it to life, really makes it pop. You can't really see it right now because it needs to be clear coated. This is this is very raw what's happening right now. But once it's cleared, you'll be able to see all those layers come to life, and the pearl blue, the pearl silver, sorry, it will really makes the artwork come alive, because every time you look at it from a different angle, the pearl changes, and that's a really nice effect. So that's my choice, you know, that's my secret. With blue fire, I use pearl silver. You can just kind of see it over here, but it's not very visible because you got all the glare and stuff. It's not very nice effect right now. Once we're going to clear coat it, which I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to take back to the final video and revisit and show you the whole thing in flesh once it's polished. But that's a project probably off camera because it's not very interesting. But I promise you, I'm going to show you the whole thing, how it looks later on. But until then, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a bee, I'm having one. Rock hard, and I'll see you very soon.